Variety wrote, this is my favorite line about the Grammys. On the microphone thing, when they did the little microphone swing, Variety wrote, they were even engaging in mutual pretend penis play.
What pediatrician wrote this? Yeah.
Just the word mutual really made that, I thought. Yeah, just mutual pretend penis play. It sounds fun.
Welcome to Keep It, Cricket Media's show about pop culture and politics and what happens when they smack into each other at an alarming speed. I'm your host, Ira Madison III, a television writer and Fall Out Boy fan.
I'm Louis Fertel. I'm a TV writer and Jane Fonda historian.
And I'm Aida Osman. I'm a TV writer and alleged comedian.
Let's get into it.
And we are back with an all-new episode of Keep It. I'm Ira Madison III.
I'm Louis Fertel, and you can hear there's a tremble in my voice because something is wrong here. Somebody has snuck in onto the podcast.
Something wicked.
I'm hiding my jewels literally. And my silver. Yeah.
No, we are. I'm excited to have Jon Favreau on Keep It today. First time ever.
So I want everyone to know that when I was offered an invitation to be on the show today, I was convinced for a while that it was an April Fool's joke and that you guys were going to have me on. And first of all, I thought you guys were going to have me on and no one was going to let me into the actual room. And I did wait here for 10 minutes and I thought, oh wow, this is actually happening. They're not going to let me in. This was just a joke. And then I thought maybe you would pretend to record it and then not release it. So I don't know how I got here, but
I like how there are several versions of cruelty in there that you think we are capable of, which is thrilling. I mean, I sort of like having that power.
Mainly Ira.
No, but it was suspiciously around April 1st. So I do sort of feel bad that we put you through that. But
you mostly scammed your way in because you have a new podcast called Offline, which I feel like is sort of a misnomer because you are online more than ever.
I'm trying, though. I'm trying to do less. I felt like the internet was breaking my brain like it is to everyone else. And so I thought I would do an interview show about it. And I've talked to some really cool people like Monica Lewinsky, Colbert, Gia Tolentino, Roxane Gay. I had Sam B last week. I have Ev Williams this week, who's a former founder of Twitter. So we're going to talk all about Twitter. And so that's, I felt like
Ira,
you should
Elon
come
on.
I'm going to have Elon on. I want to have you on to talk about being banned from Twitter and what that's been like in your life.
It has been beautiful.
You seem like a happier person.
Oh yeah, he does. Oh yeah, he doesn't miss Twitter at all, I'm sure. This is the denial on hand. Yeah.
You don't give off those vibes, so that's good.
I just want to say that last August I was in Chicago for Market Days, and I was in a club called Hydrate, which is a very traditional, just gay club, the lights, the music, etc. And somebody is looking at me sideways in a way that I would almost call flirtatious, but I couldn't solve it. Clearly inebriated. The person comes up to me and sort of leans in with a snake-like movement of his neck and says, "I know who you are, Jon Favreau." And I want you to know the mixture of emotions that went through me. I was like, that's very flattering. And also, you're on the right track. But instead I said, "Thank you so much. Tell me what you love about the podcast." And I pretended to be Jon Favreau for a few minutes. So it was actually, it was like the beginning of a Desperately Seeking Susan switch. I was taking over. Yes, it was a lot, of fun.
I have been to Hydrate quite a few times, so that's I can understand the confusion.
Yeah, I kept thinking, imagine if Jon Favreau was standing around at Hydrate. That'd be so amazing. But
I would buy you being at Hydrate before I'd ever think to see Jon Lovett there.
True.
Yeah,
right.
Me and Lovett would be the last one at Hydrate of all three of us.
I also do want to say that it is nice to have you here because truly the question I'm plagued with often is, Ira, if you hate Jon Favreau, why was he at your housewarming? Why were you at his 40th birthday party? And then I'm always like, why do you know so much about my life?
Ira, I can't remember like how our beef actually started because it's fake beef, but it's been fake for so long that at some point you start to believe the lie. And I was like, did I almost hit him with my car?
It started in a joke, in an ad. I think that's how it started. That's when we used to put like random jokes in the ads that would then spill over into the show. That's where we first made our joke about Tommy's cakes.
Oh yes, that was me.
That was Lewis.
Which is still alive today. You see it on Twitter every once in a while.
Sure, no, I'm up for the Mark Twain Prize this year because of that joke. So thank you guys so much.
We've kind of been reticent to have you on the show too because you run Pod Save America, and like what are we going to talk about with you on Keep It? But
it's a
weirdly,
good question.
The stars have aligned, and we'll see how you do this week because we're going to talk about the Grammys. But also the music we're listening to, because who cares about the Grammys and who they decide to give awards to. The Grammys were on Sunday, and I don't know. I didn't even watch them. I was at a Charlie XCX concert. Lewis, what happened?
Well, I will say this. A lot of people won that I don't think were everybody's first option, but in retrospect make perfect sense. Like, of these options, like, Bruno Mars and Silk Sonic, of course they won. Of course Jon Batiste, who had the most nominations, won Album of the Year. It would have been too soon for someone like Olivia Rodrigo, and that's like not quite the Taylor Swift album we're talking about right now. So I feel like the rollout was similar to the Oscars, actually. Like, you could have predicted it, but in this case, we actually didn't. I also have to stick up for Jon Batiste as a late-night band leader since I work in that realm, and I enjoy my job. So,
you're a band leader?
I know, isn't that crazy? I wear the jackets just like Michael Jackson. Yeah.
The Jon Batiste winning Album of the Year is interesting to me because it's not, it's not an Esperanza Spalding situation, or sort of is. I feel like people know who Jon Batiste is. They know his face, but I don't know if they know him by name. I saw him recently at a secret Madonna show that I saw in New York, the one where she took to the streets singing Like a Prayer in Harlem, as Madonna does.
Right.
And he played the piano during her show. So, like, I have video of her writhing on the piano in front of Jon Batiste, which I feel like should earn anyone an award.
Right. A Purple Heart, specifically. Right, yes.
But do you know who
he's
Jon
fantastic.
Batiste is?
Yes, I've loved Jon Batiste for a long time. Well, I'm like a big piano person. I play piano, and he did like a Fresh Air a couple years ago where he like sat down and talked about how he composes and like took people through a composition on the piano. Like, I think he's immensely talented. That album is really great. So I was surprised that it won, but I was pretty happy that it did.
So what did you think of the Grammys?
I thought there were some really excellent performances. I thought like it was definitely for a mass audience. That was my sense of the Grammys. Like Trevor Noah, like I know that they were trying to do sort of like the anti-Oscars thing, right? They were going to try to be like the kinder, gentler Oscars. But I kind of thought that like a lot of Trevor Noah's jokes were a little on the cheesy side.
People are doing shots. I mean, last year people were doing shots, but it was more Moderna and Pfizer. This time, we're back in the mix.
But so I thought the performances were good, but like that's it for the Grammys. It's not like there's anything but the performances. Like the awards weren't all. I mean, there was a few surprises here and there, and then that was it. Like I don't know. It got sleepy at one point, I thought.
I'll say that was our opinion last year, to be honest. You know, I feel like last year, the pandemic one, which Trevor hosted too, I think we specifically noted on the show that Trevor's jokes were very much bad CBS sitcom. You know, there's no like edge to them at all, and it's like they're so sort of plain. When he's hosting something, the jokes are always so plain to the sense where it's not offending anyone, but then it's also who is it for?
His jokes on The Daily Show are always much sharper than what he does on these award shows, which is weird.
I think also he has a naturally cynical quality in a lot of his comedy. And then when that's not part of what he's doing at the Grammys, it feels like he's trying on an entirely other persona in case like Stephen Colbert needs to step down and somebody needs to step in. Like he's sort of like, by the way, I'm here and I can do, razzle-dazzle nice guy showbiz, too.
Which is interesting because I've just never viewed Trevor Noah as that type of comedian. And maybe that's a conversation for a different time. But, like Trevor Noah as a comedian has many facets. And then, he has this book where he talks about, growing up in apartheid in South Africa. But it's, it's that I don't see Trevor Noah as sort of like a razzle-dazzle showman.
I never thought of Stephen Colbert that way either. And look at the space he's occupied for the past 5 years, where it's like the memory of what he once was. I barely have it anymore. And that was like, the kind of rad Emmy-winning version of himself. And now I can settle in. I can go to sleep to Stephen Colbert now. Whereas before, you were sort of prodded into a more cynical kind of awareness about the world at one point.
Okay, but he's done Sondheim on stage, so
Okay.
if Trevor Noah wants to pull out his dance shoes, and do Assassins or Sweeney Todd, then we can talk.
Yeah, Colbert is a man of many talents, and he has so much more substance than the character he played for so long. Mm-hmm. And so once he took over that show, like, he's brilliant about politics, he's very funny, he's very like deep and thoughtful. He's like, Stephen Colbert can do it all, so he's much different.
It's also weird to think about that era where that was who Stephen Colbert was. And I guess I want to ask you about that too, Jon, just in the politics realm, because I mean it's comedy as well, but that Daily Show sort of like Colbert Report era where Colbert was playing this character. I remember when the show was ending, there was like conversation ad nauseum about how he was going to be able to translate to just being himself again, and if people were going to expect him to be, that sort of comedic right-wing character, and he's done it so well because I don't feel like anyone remembers that era that much, and it's not like old episodes are streaming and people like rewatch them. They don't have much of a rewatchability factor, but now his character that he played seems quaint in comparison to what he would have to be parodying now if he were that character.
We've talked about this before. He said that he sort of hit a limit playing that character, partly because of the way that politics was changing. And so because politics, and particularly the Republican Party, is so much fucking darker now, he said that to inhabit that character back then was like something he could do on a nightly basis and then escape from it. But to inhabit the typical Republican character now is way too dark for him to do. So he knew at that point that he could never play that character again, and that he had to actually be himself because he had too many thoughts about the current political state and was actually too worried about it to like pretend that he was some Republican anymore. So he couldn't do the satire anymore.
Yeah, it feels like parody or send-ups really do not feel as trenchant a way to deal with it anymore, because you're always going to stumble upon some OANN personality or Newsmax person who's like beating you to that punch and is living in that punchline. So just deeply ashamed. But by the way, I would like a little bit more nuttiness from the Colbert we get, just because I still remember him from Strangers with Candy, where he was just a bone-chilling character. The way he would be strange and like make you sit back with the weird non sequiturs that would come out of his mouth. Unforgettable. I hope people rediscover Strangers with Candy at some time and there's some renaissance. Even the movie, the one where Sarah Jessica Parker's in it for 2 seconds. Great stuff. Yeah. Okay, back to the Grammys. Who was your favorite performance, Jon?
I thought Billie Eilish's performance was the best. I thought I thought she like absolutely killed it. I thought the Taylor Hawkins tribute was nice. She was wearing the T-shirt, just like she crushed that performance. I'm an Olivia Rodrigo fan. I thought Driver's License was quite a performance too. I really like that.
Is that Emily's influence, or did she introduce you to Olivia?
No, you know whose influence that is Tommy Vietor. That's Sour is his favorite album. No, it was. Right. It was an introduction. It's true. It was an introduction from Emily, but I am I'm a Rodrigo fan.
I love Olivia Rodrigo when she sounds like the Veronicas, which are an Australian duo that came out in the 2000s, but there's specifically a song on that album called Brutal that I really enjoy.
I wish I could disappear. Ego crush is so severe. God, it's brutal out here.
Oh, Lil Nas X was also amazing. I thought that was a fantastic performance.
So I guess he's just a supermodel. He's just like Little Nas X appears, and I'm like, you remind me of like every hot person I've ever seen. You're just like and you're like a talented person and like an out gay person. Too many quadrants are hit. Yeah.
Well, it was the first, like, watching that whole performance live, my first question was, like, why does he need Jack Harlow on this song? Like, I don't even know what he actually added to this, though. It was a pretty amazing performance.
I will say that I am, unfortunately, and I've tried to fight it. I am full Jack Harlow hive. There is something about that. There's something about that white boy that I just find. It's like I'm drawn to it. I'm drawn to it in the way that, like, I don't know. I guess probably like I remember my sister had like Eminem posters on the wall when she was younger. But then she turned out to be a lesbian. So I don't know the correlation there.
That's a non sequitur.
But I don't know. I like Jack Harlow, and I like. We've talked about before how he, sort of gave like a different co-sign to Lil Nas X initially, just because I like having a straight male rapper on a song like that and in a video like that and performing with him on stage. I love their friendship, and I think it's kind of done wonders for like people being interested in his career, where it doesn't feel like it's gay baiting the way that other pop stars have had to do. It just seems like, here's my gay best friend, and now I'm here. It seems, I like it.
Did you guys watch that performance, the Lil Nas X one?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Variety wrote, this is my favorite line about the Grammys, on the microphone thing, when they did the little microphone swing.
I sent it back to a boyfriend of mine. City talking, we taking notes.
Variety wrote, they were even engaging in mutual pretend penis play.
What pediatrician wrote this? Yeah.
Just the word mutual really made that, I thought. Yeah, just mutual pretend penis play. It sounds fun.
Oh my God. That is a really mortifying sequence of words. My God.
That was pretty bad.
I want to shout out Lenny Kravitz performed with her. And there are certain songs where when you hear them now, you've heard them so many times, they simply remind you of being at the grocery store. Like, they don't have any, like, kind of radness value anymore. And Are You Gonna Go My Way? If you had said, Lewis, pick 5 songs you never need to hear again, that would be one of them. And they were, I thought, awesome. It made me like that song for the first time in probably 24 years or something like that. And also, Her has joined this coterie of people who I believe simply live at award shows. There's like John Legend.
If you end an award show, no, but John Legend, we at least see him other places. If you end award shows, Her would cease to exist.
Right. Right.
She nearly has a fucking EGOT. And I cannot place this woman anywhere else, except she does have a really good song out with Sweetie right now called Closer, which I love mostly because the internet refers to it as Kiss Me Less.
Good one.
Also, Lenny Kravitz is going to live forever, I think, and looks the same.
I think the family is vampires, actually. Lenny, Lisa, Zoe. It was nice to see Lenny thriving after his family took a bunch of stray bullets. That was the actual aftermath of the Oscars, by the way. I feel like people were worried about the Grammys being like, oh, is it going to go so hard in the other direction where we try to like make sure like nobody gets slapped on this stage. But the funny thing that I did not expect to happen after the Oscars was, the celebrities who spoke up about what happened then becoming targets and people sort of dragging them through the mud. And the Zoe Kravitz, Lenny Kravitz thing was, I will say it was funny, to be honest. It was funny to me because I feel like the easiest thing to do would be to mind your business.
I had Samantha B on offline, and so I asked her, I was like, are you upset that you don't have a daily show every night and instead go once a week because now you can't cover the slap. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? She's like, I am so happy that I don't have to talk about that. Then I asked her to talk about it, of course. But I think the best, it's like, why would you want to make a comment? Just shut up. Just go away. You don't have to say anything. It's fine. No one's gonna double check that you didn't say anything.
I am utterly grateful for her because it always felt to me like Jane Curtin on Weekend Update in the 70s. There was no, for a long time, proper successor to the kind of salty, eye roll laden thing she did as a quote unquote newscaster. And Samantha Bee absolutely has picked up that mantle. Like, it's like, wow, that is superstar Jane Curtin, which are words I love saying. By the way, though, speaking of people who are at the Grammys and people who are also at the Oscars, something that sucked about the slap was a few things were overshadowed about that ceremony that I am still processing. And something that nobody has talked about is that Megan Thee Stallion appeared as a surprise cameo during the Encanto song and sang a verse about the jokes Amy Schumer, Regina King, and Wanda Sykes were telling. And then we just moved on with life. Like, that's something she does all the time. She said they were killing it with the jokes. And I mean, like, how much did they pay her, or how much money did they take away from her? I don't know.
And she shouted out Zendaya too.
Right.
The only celeb she shouted out.
That was so wild because we listened to the Encanto soundtrack at my house all day long because Charlie is a huge fan, and so the song comes on at the Oscars, and he just get out of the bed and he runs into the bedroom to see it, and then there's Megan Thee Stallion doing a verse, and he was very confused. Very confused what was
not
going
in the
on
song. Yeah.
It's good though.
But so speaking of Encanto, which you listen to all the time, because you have a child, but also because you love it, I assume. What are you listening to in general right now? Ignoring the Grammys, which mostly cares about Silk Sonic and Olivia Rodrigo at the moment. What are you listening to at home? What's your music jam?
Yeah. No, on Encanto though, this is what happens in my household. I have no taste in anything, so it's just all osmosis. My Emily is the biggest Taylor Swift fan in the world, and so for 10 years of knowing her, I've now become a huge Taylor Swift fan. Now I'm a fan of all the music Charlie likes, including Encanto. But when I'm on my own, recently because of I'm having a midlife crisis, and so I'm trying to listen to music that reminds me of my high school and college years. So I'm listening to the new Chili Peppers album, which is pretty good.
I like it.
Black Summer, It's Only Natural, The Heavy Wing, really good songs off that, I thought.
It was very I had no idea that the Chili Peppers were going to be releasing a new album until a single came out a few weeks ago, and it was just very jarring to open up Spotify, which I feel is how we learn about new music these days. You just go to New Music Friday, and you're like, oh, this artist has released a song, and I haven't heard from them in years, where it used to be they would show up on MTV, or you'd see a magazine or
press
something
junkets,
that they'd be on.
Yeah.
I like it, and I've been a big Red Hot Chili Peppers fan for years, and so I appreciate that it's a good album.
Also, like the Foo Fighters, I just have this theory that they are all very nice guys. If you see Flea on Twitter, his whole thing he just tweets you know who I love? Gay people. It's shockingly optimistic for the band that gave you, for instance, Under the Bridge.
Right. There are very nice stories about him in Demi Moore's autobiography too. So.
Oh right.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But by the way, I wanted to say that was also something about the Grammys I loved. The tribute to Taylor Hawkins. I'm sorry, there's something about him dying that it hurt. That's not my type of music at all, but he just had such an effervescent quality. Loved every second of what he did. I was reacquainted with how cool he was because of the Alanis Morissette Jagged Little Pill documentary, which he's prominently featured, and he plays on You Ought to Know, and toured with her for that entire time. But man, he just seemed fucking cool as hell. Just one of those Dave Grohl people who's thrilled to do what he does. And also that band specifically, I think, took the dickishness out of the archetypal rock star vibe. They're you can represent rock and roll and hard rock, quote unquote hard rock, and not be insufferable and not be Axl Rose. And I am thankful to them for that.
No, I think that and Nirvana and sort of like that era of music, like the grunge sort of music era. I think we've talked about that a bit, like with Ben Folds when he was on too. You know, I think like that era of musicians were just sort of people who grew up with the rock star mentality of like, this is a person who's going to trash a hotel at the Chateau Marmont and maybe they'll overdose in it. And then you got people who are just like, no, we love music.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Trying to think of what else I'm listening to. So on my workout mix, I have that Altigo remix of Toxic and My Pony is awesome. There's that Lato song Big Energy that samples Fantasy.
It's Lotto, John.
Lotto?
Lotto, because her original name used to be
was Mulatto, right?
Miss
Yes.
Mulatto, yeah. She won some rap-based television competition, right? That's like how she came to be. And then her name was, she shortened her name eventually. But the Big Energy remix with Mariah Carey on it
Mariah Carey's now in it.
I don't know how I feel about that one.
Wait,
but,
Mariah Carey didn't do the vocals on it?
She did.
No,
she did do new vocals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I will love it more when the video drops. But right now, we grew up in an era where a Mariah Carey remix was like an event. Like I need to
I know, I remember
completely
that.
different. You know, I am right now. Lewis knows that the only person I'm listening to is Charlie XCX.
I feel like I get that from your Instagram.
Now, here's the thing. I feel like specifically gay men are finally beginning to really adopt this woman as like on the level of a Carly Rae Jepsen. Like, she's kind of for us, and straight people have seen the name, but we're going to seek her out in concerts and stuff. I still feel like, and I like all of her songs. When Vroom Vroom comes on, I get it. But I still feel like I'm missing, it's like she's lacking a specific memorable identity quality or something that keeps, that prevents me from going back to her. And I know she's like super smart and cool, but I'm just not there yet.
I would tell you to listen to her recent interview with Zane Lowe for this album, Crash. Is the name of the album, and I just saw the concert on Sunday for the second time. I adore her, and I recently became like a stan within the past few years. Charlie's a person who started her career like 10 years ago in her teens. You know, like she was making music when she was young too, like at home. And so she's sort of like she's sort of more of like an Alanis Morissette, like, you know, this sort of type of person who's like making music on her own and then really sort of finding like weird ways to make sounds into music, etc. And the Crash marks the end of like it's like her deal that she had for 5 records, and so now she's sort of at this precipice where she could go mainstream, she could continue to be independent, but this is sort of like the culmination of everything that she's represented. I would tell people to actually listen to this album first, because she has the weird shit like Vroom Vroom, which she makes with her friends in like PC music, where that music that sounds like pots and pans being smashed together. But then this album was specifically her being like, I'm making like a pop record, you know, like she'd joke about selling out or being mainstream, but yeah,
I love
it's
a
just
sellout pop record. Liz
you
Fair,
know?
speak your name.
I've been listening to her because I follow your Spotify playlist now, and so I was just
you
listening
do?
to some the March one, he could have been killed.
I am obsessed with making Spotify playlists now. I mean, I feel like I always used to make playlists in general for like parties or something now, but now I specifically make a playlist each month and put new songs that I like on it, and also older songs that are just stuck in my head, mostly because I feel like I used to constantly get like DMs from people who'd be like, oh, what are you listening to? Or if I share like a song in my Instagram story, I'm like, people are like, I missed that the other day, you know? I feel like we're slipping back into the era where people want to share playlists and music in a more meaningful way. then you just have, most of people's Spotify, I feel like it's like workout mix 17, or just
this is what I love following friends' Spotify lists, because otherwise I'm the type of person with music taste where I'll just go to like top hits, and it's just like 15 top pop hits that have been playing for 5 months now, and it's like gets very old. So I love doing that.
Well, speaking of current hits, guess who I've been listening to? The first recordings of Barbra Streisand, and I will tell you why.
Of course.
First of all, we're getting the first Funny Girl revival since Barbara did it in the 60s on Broadway with Beanie Feldstein. A few friends of mine have seen it. They really enjoyed it, so that's really exciting. Beanie Feldstein seems great to me. I'm thrilled to watch her. But Barbra Streisand is also turning 80 soon, and the official premiere of this musical will be on her 80th birthday, which is a Sunday, which never happens. So it's like a real specific tribute to her. And I don't know, I'm somebody who gets a little in my head worried about people honoring certain legends enough. Like, are we doing enough to savor this moment, to celebrate who Barbra Streisand is? And what I've come to realize listening to her first few albums, which have a lot of songs that are like childlike on it. She was sort of playing a childlike character where she pretends to be 5 on one. Her impish character is there. A lot of characterizations we would know later from movies she did. She was really originating on record. And I think the interesting thing about her is she's somebody who could have won a Kennedy Center Honors like 3 years into her career before she was ever even a movie star, in her first movie even. And I don't know that anybody has ever gotten to that zenith that quickly. I think Barbra Streisand is the fastest that's ever happened. So if you listen to her first albums, and her first album, she won Album of the Year for at the time for the Grammys, you are hearing that moment occur. You cannot deny not just the power of what she brings, but how effortless the characterization in her vocals are. This is somebody who, if she was belting, she was also representing, a kind of wisecracking character on the side while she did that. And that juxtaposition of vivid character and amazing voice, that's never been met. Like, we have other people in that realm, like Eliza Minnelli, for example, but she really is the first position, number one of all time. And I hope people take time this month when she turns 80 to relish those early recordings specifically.
She has so many albums.
Oh, she might have the most albums. She might have the most albums. Yeah.
The only people trying to compete with her now are Weezer, who I recently discovered have a new album, and also released another album like last year called Van Weezer, and have released nearly every color that you can imagine. Right. Like, we all remember the green album, the blue album. They've released the black and the teal album already. I think Rivers Cuomo needs to be stopped. But there are so many Barbra albums, and I feel like I've, by osmosis, I've taken in some of the stuff I like, probably through movies, or my favorite Barbra album is actually Guilty, because you know how much I love the Bee Gees.
Yes, that's produced by Barry Gibb, and it has a soft sort of 80s quality. It's something you would play alongside like Dionne Warwick Heartbreaker. It's that era. Yeah.
The song Guilty is one of my top 10 songs I think ever made. And I've listened to the album Superman only because I really like the cover art for it.
Iconic cover art. She's dressed as Superman and has little briefs on or something.
Yeah, I would get a poster of that framed, actually, because I think it's a gorgeous album cover. And then she's got other random albums from that era, like Wet. I don't know what's going on. She was just constantly making music, and so I've never done a real Barbra deep dive.
Oh, I think that'd be pleasurable. I think most of her albums really hold up.
Yeah.
I guess I should get into some Barbra Streisand, huh?
By the way, also a deep dive worth watching, her movies, because even in her quote unquote bad movies, she is not the problem. She just belongs on a screen. It's shocking that the person who could make her mark, singing Leonard Bernstein songs in the 60s and being, in the musical I Can Get It For You Wholesale, is also, to me, convincing as, a quote unquote crazy person in Nuts. It's the talent level is very extreme. And my favorite comedy performance of all time in What's Up Doc, where she brought back Screwball in the 70s with Peter Bogdanovich. May he rest.
I fucking love that
fabulous.
movie.
Yes.
I think part of it actually probably is just culturally not growing up Jewish.
Right. No. Why would I hear this? Yes, that's
because
exactly right.
you know she's famous, obviously, and you know like there are Barbra Streisand songs that I would say that you know like my grandmother loves. But you know when I talk to like other like Jewish friends, you know, or even like bosses of mine that I've had, you know, like in writers' rooms and stuff. Their relationship with Barbra Streisand is just so much different because they're like their parents listen to Barbra and they've seen like Barbra Streisand concerts because their parents took them. And I was like, my mom took me to Janet Jackson.
My mom was a huge Barbra Streisand fan. So I remember growing up listening to Barbra because my mother loved her so much and then would like sing her songs all the time.
All right, well, be like your mom, Jon Favreau. That's what this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll dig back into it now. After this conversation. Now I'm inspired.